What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Chopping It Up with P. Another week, another dollar. And this week, y'all the guest again. Hope y'all doing well. Um, got a couple of things for y'all today, and I think that they can really resonate with our society right now and our generation right now more than anything. So I want to say first, right? Sometimes you don't miss the person, you miss who you were when they were giving you attention, right? We got to talk about the people in question, right? The person in question. Sometimes I feel like when things happen, right, and whether that's just a situationship um, I think a relationship or something else that just didn't quite work out. I think first and foremost, we miss the attention. I think we missed the attention to a little detail, to the calling, the texting, the how you're doing, right? The constant communication there is, and careful and careness for the other person. I think most of the time we don't miss the person in itself. We miss the the not probably the camaraderie, right? And the attention. I think we confuse the missing the attention with missing the actual person, the question at hand. I think we miss the routine as well. Maybe you with this person you woke up to a good morning text, right? And you kind of miss that. You kind of miss looking up, going on your phone and looking up in the morning. And you're like, oh, I know I got a text. You know what I'm saying? Rather than the actual person at hand, right? You miss the feeling of, yeah, okay, this is the routine every day. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what we miss more about than anything a lot of the time. Sometimes you miss the chase as well. You miss you chasing someone. You miss being pursued. You miss being chased sometimes, right? I think we miss the idea of someone just, chasing us and trying to get to know us. Because when someone's chasing you and trying to get to know you, there's kind of an ego that builds, right? And when there's multiple of that coming across to you, right, you tend to get an ego. Like your ego is boosted. Because then it's like, I get to have my pick out whoever I want. There's that's men and women. There's a variety of options, and I get to pick whoever I want to fuck with. You know, I I think in more time in these situations, we have to be able to understand that you have to be able to go back within yourself and be like, okay, maybe I don't necessarily miss this person or the situation I was in, whether that was bad or good. But well, bad for yourself, if anything, right? But I think more times than ever, we have to go back and we evaluate ourselves and be like, okay, I don't necessarily miss the situation. I miss how I was treated in this situation, if that makes sense. Again, it goes back to the missing the thing more than the person. That's the way I view things. I think we also miss feeling wanted. For everyone wants to be wanted. Obviously, I want to be wanted. You want to be wanted. We all want to be wanted. That's normal. That's a normal human behavior to have, right? We all miss to be wanted. Um, Again, that's go back to the chase, the attention, routine, the film. Like all of that is just what we desire and crave as human beings. You're not wrong for craving that, right? You're not wrong for wanting that. But I guess sometimes I think we take it to our advantages. As human beings, we have egos, we have, you know, um, self-esteem as well. You know what I'm saying? So if I know five people, are hitting up my line, and I'm getting all these things that I'm craving, why would I stop? It's kind of like that dopamine rusher, that like knowing yourself. I got five of these things. I can pick whoever I want to do this and do that. Why would I stop? You know what I'm saying? Not realizing that it's wrong and you're playing with people's feelings. I think that we've all been victim to that. I don't think that's a fair thing to be like, oh, it's just you, it's just that. I think we've all done that, whether we like whether we like to admit it or not. I think we've all, um, you know, tricked ourselves trick the person into thinking, oh, this is going somewhere, and it's not. You know what I'm saying? That leading on, but then that hurts the person more in the process more than it hurts you. Times you tend to get the person you tend to get feelings for this person at one point, and then it works out. Most of the time, it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? When you're getting all these things from all these people, tend again to have the self-esteem, to have the ego boost, and then it's like, okay, well, I have all of these options. I'm gonna just pick one when I want to. Well, I don't have to pick one right now, because I'm liking to play the field. You know what I'm saying? But I think again, it goes back to you missing those things, not initially the person. Guess because everyone can do that for you. You know what I'm saying? You don't miss them. You miss having someone make you feel chosen. Because again, we some people tend to not be alone. Some people tend to jump from person to person, from person to person, from situation to situation to situation to situation. Not shaming that, not saying that's bad. It's not necessarily the healthiest thing, but I think that's more of a coping mechanism than anything. I think it's because I don't know whatever is going on. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes maybe it is like, okay, this happened a month later, you do meet someone, and then it happens again. But most of the time, when it's going from person to person to person, and there's no real break in between, it's a pattern. There's clearly something going on. Does that involve you being scared of being alone? Most likely, feeling loneliness, not feeling wanted. You get into your own head. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like there's part in that. Now, jumping from person to person, I don't think that's healthy. I don't want to say it's healthy because I think after every little, depending on how deep the thing was with the person, I think you need time for yourself to reevaluate yourself, where you stand. You know what I'm saying? What you learned from this and what you didn't learn from it. You know what I'm saying? What you would like to do next with that. So I don't think so. Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying it's look a bad thing, but it's not the most healthiest thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? It just really isn't because kind of just psych yourself out. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point of doing that? Like, you were just with someone probably a month ago, with a different person. Deep down in your heart, you don't mess with this next person. It's probably just a rebound thing. You know what I'm saying? We tend to have those after breakups or after people have hurt us. That's how we cope. You know, the way someone's going to grieve at things or cope with things is not the same, way someone else is going to. You know what I'm saying? If you went through something with someone and it was deep down to the point where it really hurts you, you might grieve by like, sleeping around, going from person to person. That's how you grieve, right? Or you might, when you meet the next person, you might try to resemble that person into someone else. Like if the person you were messing with wore a jacket, like a really like a black jacket, black leather jacket that you messed with heavy, that they look so good in, right? Next person, if the next person have those same type of features as the person you used to mess with, and you miss them, you subconsciously you might make them want to wear a black jacket, you know what I'm saying? Gas them up and be like, oh, you look good in that. You should start wearing that. And then, you know what I'm saying? I think that's more of those things that you're not over the person showing up into the next person. You know what I'm saying? That you might not necessarily realize. You know what I'm saying? Again, the way people cope and the way people react to things and just deal with things, some of them are not necessarily right. Like the sleeping around and stuff, that's not necessarily right. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily right, but that's just how they do it. That's how they have to cope with it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to be happy about it. That's just how they're going to to go about it, to grieve about it. You know what I'm saying? That just is what it is. Everyone has their way of doing things. I feel like nostalgia be lying. You know what I'm saying? Like I think the brain edits the bad times, the bad parts. After the time passes. You know what I'm saying? I think depending on how it ended, you get to really remember stuff. You get to remember the last. The times y'all really just did have fun and was just being yourselves and just everything was nice and daisy. You know what I'm saying? You remember the late night talks, you know what I'm saying? The late night drive when y'all was just talking about life, what you were gonna do tomorrow, the day after, the week after, probably the rest of y'all lives. That's more of so subconscious thing because, you know, when things end sometimes, when things end you I think you have to look at the good and the bad. I just think that's straight up. You have to be able to look at the good, the bad, and everything in between. Now, depending if you were done the wrong way, you will only focus on the bad. I think that's what we tend to do as people. Is like because we were done bad, we'll look at only the bad thing that this person has done. Maybe the person did slip up and fuck up and did this bad thing, but you can't automatically say he or she is a bad person because he or she did that bad thing. What about all the good things they did? All the good qualities they had in them? Yes, we will dwell in the bad, but there is also the good. I think that's one thing we have to look at both ways. And then also everything in between. How this person helped you be a better version of yourself. How this person, you know, help, help your mom or your dad or, any way type of shape or form where they actually like where your parents actually like this person, you know? So I think again, it goes back to when things happen, we have to be able to understand that, like, if you were done bad, yes, there is this bad thing that this person did, which is why it ended. I understand that, right? But there's also everything that happened in between and the good parts about this person. We tend to dwell on the bad and not look at the good parts about this person as well. There's the good parts and the bad parts, and you have to look at both. I think more times than most, after we dwell on the bad, then we'll look at the good. You know what I'm saying? That's the person that's being done bad. Now, the person that did the bad, you know, they're most likely able to look at both because they did the bad. They're not the one that was necessarily hurt in the action. Not to say that they weren't hurt, but they were doing the action that got the other person hurt. So I think it's a different type of hurt. It's obviously a different type of hurt than the person who just got bad on. You know what I'm saying? So they're more likely to look at both. You know what I'm saying? You remember the good text. Remember the little FaceTime calls and the this hi beautiful or hey king, hey queen, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. We remember a lot of these good things, but we have to be able to understand that that's not all of it to the story. There's the good and the bad and everything in between. And sometimes because we are hurt and we are dwelling in that, we don't necessarily get to look at in between those lines and again, necessarily the good, just more of the bad. Um, we forget the anxiety a lot of times that we had with this person. Um, we forget the inconsistency sometimes because some when things happen, maybe you believe this person is not a bad person. You believe that they did have a slip up, you know, and you want to take them back, right? I think that's when your brain kind of just becomes more of a fog than anything. It kind of just remembers more of the good thing, which is not necessarily bad, but it could be bad if depending on how you were done and how disrespectful it was. Again, that goes back to your morals, what you stand for and what you don't stand for. Because what you and another person could have been done the exact same way, craziest way in the fucking world. But this person might take them back and this person might not. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the person that took him back, they just see like, okay, this is a good person. They probably had one slip up. I'm gonna let this one go. I'm okay with that. But this person is like, fuck them. Because what the fuck do you think you are playing with me? You know what I'm saying? The respect I have, my self-respect is higher than that. My morality is higher than that. This is higher than that. You know what I'm saying? That could be an ego thing as well. But I think more borderline is just what you align with. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes again you forget the anxiety you had this with this person, the inconsistency, the disrespect, and the confusion you had this person. Because sometimes it kind of leads to So, the confusion is just more of like it's like this, right? And I think I was talking about this with someone maybe like a week ago or like 2 weeks ago. And I just seen and heard this obviously, but it's like there's times where, you know, we'll like there'll be a breakup, right? Or not necessarily a breakup, but there'll be a final breakup. Let's say there'll be this final breakup, right? And it ended because the guy did some crazy shit. But it's not the first time. This already his second or third time doing some crazy shit, right? But after the first crazy shit, why did you not leave? Why did you stay? You know what I'm saying? A lot of the times it's because I hear this. It's like, oh, I love him. I love him. I think he's just messed up. I adored him. Or I love her. I think she just messed up. Y'all are birds, fool. Y'all like people. Y'all are birds. Because it's like sometimes, like, yes, we tend to mess up, right? But again, it goes back to yes, we tend to mess up. But what are you standing for? Are you standing for if you are standing for the disrespect and bullshit, you're gonna go back. But if you know at the end of the day that that is a crazy thing to do, someone that messes with you, that likes you, that loves you, wouldn't do that shit, wouldn't even put you in that situation, then you're gone. You know what I'm saying? Not that if you go back, you don't necessarily have self-respect or morals or anything of that sort. Not necessarily, right? But probably not as much as the person who didn't go back. And I think it just depends on how you were done as well. But guys, bro, like we just have to stop going back to the bullshit, fool. You know what I'm saying? Damn. Like it's just the way you were done. Like I get at the end of the day, it just depends on how you were done and all that type of stuff. I think I mean, you get to tell that because nostalgia is dangerous because it only shows you the trailer, not the whole movie. You get to see the goods and bad parts, but you don't get to see everything in between. That's what I was telling y'all. You know what I'm saying? We tend to look at the bad, and then not all the time the good. But even if we do, we don't get to look at the in betweens, everything that happened that led to that. You know what I'm saying? Attention is addictive. I feel like sometimes people don't go back because they love someone. They go back because they miss being desired. Again, it goes back to us being wanted, being chased, and all that. We talk about the dopamine of a text. Like when you're texting someone, you get when your face lights up. You see their name on the screen. Or they'll send you a text a minute ago. Okay, I'm about to open this. You know what I'm saying? Or this, or this, that. You get that dopamine of a text and you say, oh, okay, damn. Like your face kind of lights up. You kind of smirk. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like attention is addictive. Posting just to get the reaction. Sometimes, and not proud of this. I think we've all done this, but I think I took it to a certain extreme. But I think we've all done this. Made a Snapchat story. Only put shorty I was fucking with in there, and I posted on that jump, right? Look, it looks crazy, but this is back in high school, fool. So we're not talking about that. But I'm just saying that it's crazy. The attention is addictive. You put someone in that, I put someone in that story just by themselves because I wanted them to see that and them to react to that. And again, that's addiction. That's just attention that you're craving. Checking if they viewed your story. You'll post on everyone this time, but you're mainly checking to see if they saw it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they left a like, maybe they didn't, maybe they brushed it over, maybe they sent a reply. You know what I'm saying? That's attention, guys, right? You want to prove they still care. I think you do that because you want proof that they still care. Because you posting that or you seeing that, seeing how they react or how, this and this and that aligns. I think that you want the proof that they do still care and that they care about what you're posting and what you're saying, right? Because if you don't, you wouldn't care, right? That's attention, you know? Sometimes the text doesn't even mean anything. You just want to know you still have access to them. Sometimes when things are done, right? And maybe you're trying to fuck with that person again, you might do that. You might post this, post that, and post this and post that, right? And, whether see how they react to things and blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? The text don't mean nothing. The likes don't mean nothing. The repost doesn't mean anything. The reply doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? It's the knowing that you still have access to that person that means something to you. Not in fact that you got the person, but that you still have access to that person. That is what really means something to a person a lot of the time. You know what I'm saying? Comfort can look like love. You being comfortable with a person doesn't necessarily mean you love the person. It just means you're comfortable with them. It can look like love. You know, just because someone feels familiar doesn't mean they're good for you. Just because just because you feel comfortable with them doesn't mean they're good for you. You know what I'm saying? You're going back because it's easy. You feel me? Like sometimes we don't want to move on because what we just had wasn't the craziest thing in the world. It actually no, it was crazy, right? Which is why we left. But we tend to not move on because we already have this and it's already in place. You know what I'm saying? What's the point of going? In your mind, it's like, okay, they didn't really do anything crazy. They did, even though they did something crazy, but you're like, oh, they didn't do anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? Should I go back? Why should I not go back? You know what I'm saying? But you're going back because it's comfortable. You've already been in that state. You were there for so long, and then it's like, oh, why go reach out for something else? You know what I'm saying? Why not just stay here where it's cozy and nice? You feel me? Why not stay here where I've already done the deed, where share's already been shared, where we kind of get each other in the way? You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why you break up and why you cut things off. So why go back to that? Why make yourself feel that way again? Or why dwell in whatever that shit is again? Like, for what? You know? Sometimes we just don't want to start over. Yeah, like for real. Sometimes we just don't want to sit here and be like, okay, what's your name? First date, all this, first kiss, all that. I understand that, but that's still not a reason to go back to the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's going to be the same shit again. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to start over. I understand that because you're starting back from square one, right? Come on. You know what I'm saying? I think there's self-respect in that. You know what I'm saying? You kind of miss the version of them that you created. You know, I think when you meet people and like whether that's when you have relationships or situationships with people or just your friends, whether you like it or not, there's a version that you are with them. The way you interact with this person is not going to be the same way you interact with that person, whether that's a friend, a situationship, or a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So each person develops something different out of you. You know what I'm saying? So because maybe you liked the version that you were with this person, you don't know how this next person is going, how you're going to be with this next person, right? Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, but you have to start over to know that. So instead of just starting over, maybe to something better, you just rather stay here because, well, I've already been here. It's comfortable. No, sometimes that block button is not crazy. I love the block button. Fuck, the block button is not crazy because it comes down to your self-respect and what you see yourself as. For me, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's what that goes into. You kind of stay attached to potential as well. When something is going on and you kind of feel like this person, oh, is not right there yet, but there is potential, right? But I think the things that are happening, right, that you don't like are kind of deal breakers in a sense. But because there is potential for better, you kind of just tend to stay because, well, regardless of which, they may not be the best person in the world, right? They truly may not be the best person in the world, but you kind of see the potential. And you're like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take it off of this. You feel me? So that's where I'm coming from with that. Comfort will have you calling something love that really just is a habit. You know what I'm saying? You'll say you'll love this person, you'll say you're attached to this person, but I think you're just attached to the habit or how you feel with them. You know what I'm saying? Not with them necessarily. I just think how it's just the emotional attachment more so than the person. Again, or how you're treated or how you're chased in that thing. You know what I'm saying? Um, this is the ego part that nobody wants to admit. Sometimes you don't want them back. You just want them to move on first. You know what I'm saying? You wanting to be missed is a big deal. After everything happens, especially if you're like, this is more of an ego thing, especially if like you know they fuck up, you want them to miss you because it was their fuck up. So it's like, I want them to miss me. I want them to reach out to me first, even if I were to go back. You know what I'm saying? I want them to know what it's like without me. So the wanting to be missed is it's more of a pride thing. Ego, big ego pride thing. You know, wanting them to regret losing you, right? So again, that goes back to them posting certain things or certain things with someone or certain things they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Wanting them to regret losing you, that is a big ego part as well. Getting bothered when they look happy. Now, I could say like it could go both ways, right? But that is an ego part too. You know what I'm saying? I think, especially when the person did you wrong, why the fuck should they be happy? That's one of the things that goes through your mind. Like, it's okay, it does. You know, why the fuck should they be happy if they did me wrong? You know what I'm saying? That's an ego and pride thing as well. They should not be okay because they did me wrong, because I'm not 100% okay. It's bullshit, right? You confuse the ego pain with the heartbreak. You know, again, wanting to be missed, wanting them to regret losing you. That's the ego pain. That's not the heartbreak. The heartbreak is you being like, oh shit, this is bad, this happened to me. And you're mad about that, of course, right? But the ego part of you it doesn't let you see that. Like the wanting to be missed, the wanting them to regret losing you, the getting bothered when they look happy. All of that is the ego pain. It's not your heartbreak. That's not what you actually feel. That's your ego and pride getting in the way of what you actually feel. You know, regardless if you like someone or love someone, you're gonna want the best for them. Probably not at the start because yeah, fuck you, you did this crazy shit to me. Okay, cool, I understand that. But if it's always like that, then bro, you never truly fuck with this person. I think you just fuck with the idea of that person. I think you just fuck with not only the idea, but maybe how you were with this person. You know what I'm saying? So your heart isn't broken, your ego just gets humbled. And that's cool. That's okay. Maybe that person went on to have a better thing without you. That's cool. We all have our experiences. There's all types of shit we go through that we need to go through to get to where we want to be. You know what I'm saying? To learn about ourselves. So that's okay. I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying? You can't just take it like that. You know how to know when you actually mix them. When you actually miss them. Okay, you miss who they are, not just what they gave you. You kind of just miss like what who they are as a person, the personality. Because when you saw them, you were always gonna laugh. You were always gonna crack up. You know what I'm saying? You were always gonna probably the best part of your day. You know what I'm saying? Seeing them and talking to them, FaceTime or texting, whatever y'all did. You know what I'm saying? That's when you know you actually missed them. You know what I'm saying? Not what they gave you, maybe the dates, the flowers, the presents, not none of that. Fuck that. It's more of like who you were with them. You miss who they are as a person, how they impacted your life. You know what I'm saying? You would still care about them without access. Without access to the social media, the numbers, not seeing them, you still care about that person and wish them the best. That's where I'm saying, like, that's how you know when it's different between the ego and the actual heartbreak. Because regardless of which, if you truly love this person and care about this person, yes, they fucked up and it's fucked, but it's like you still want the best for them in this life because you truly care about that person as a person, not what they gave you or not the idea of them. You truly care about this person no matter what, whether that's a heartbreak or some bullshit. You still want the best for them, depending on the circumstances. You know what I'm saying? Um, you're not only thinking about the good moments, you're also thinking about the bad. I think when you know you actually miss someone is when you think about the good and the bad. You know what I'm saying? When you can sit there and realize, okay, this is what went wrong, which is fucked, right? But this is also what went good. This is also what I was able to understand from the good and understand from the bad. You get to look at both sides and everything else in between and be like, okay, this is why sometimes we have closure. We'll get to that. That's another episode. But this is why we are. It's also why we haven't closure. We need closure. I don't know. Do we want closure? Maybe. Do we need it? I don't know. You know. So again, you're not only thinking about the good moments, think about the good and the bad, how they were as a person, how you were treated in that way. You know what I'm saying? You can admit the problem is clear. And I think this is one thing that goes with ego. Sometimes we sit down, and this is how you know you actually missed them too. When you sit down, and let's say you do talk, closure, whatever you want to call it, you get to admit what you did wrong. A lot of times your ego won't let you see that because you're so fucking frustrated and mad at the person. But a lot of times you gotta understand they did some shit too. Like, okay, recently the Clay and Meg situation, right? We get to see that Meg, okay, they broke up, right? And then Meg was going online, oh, he cheated. Cool. I'm not saying he didn't cheat. I don't know if he did cheat. I don't know them. We all don't know them. Keep in mind, we all don't know them as the public. We all don't know them, right? He cheated, allegedly, right? Yes, we'll say that he did cheat. But like, y'all have to understand as well, what drove him to cheat? If he did cheat, what drove him to cheat? Just because these people are famous or bad or this and that doesn't mean they're good people necessarily. I'm not calling Meg a bad person. I'm just saying, like, look at it that way. You can look at it that way. You can put that in your own life too. Just because this person did that or this person did that, what drove him to do that decision? Just because he's a 10 out of 10 or she is a 10 out of 10, they might not be the best people to have relationships with. They might just not be the best people, period. You know what I'm saying? So because, oh, she's bad, oh, because she makes good music, oh, because he does this and does that, that doesn't mean they're the necessarily good people at heart or good people to have in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? To have a relationship with. Again, not saying that like, oh, he's a bad person, the bag is a bad person, or they're bad people to be in a relationship with. No, I'm just saying in general, right? What drove that person to make that decision? What's the other shit we don't know? Sometimes there's always other shit we don't know. We only put out our side of it and what makes us look good. Not saying that's what happened here, but I'm just saying in general, we have to look at both sides. We don't have this side yet. So how can we make a decision or say, oh, fuck Clay? Or I've seen so much shit online, oh, fuck Clay, da, 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 da. But like, you don't know what else happened, right? So again, you have to admit what you did wrong too. There's no way someone just wakes up, just happens. No. What went wrong for that to happen? That's when you got to admit that you were wrong too. And sometimes our ego doesn't allow us to do that. It just doesn't. Real love remembers truth, not just the highlights. You'll look at everything that happened in between my wrongs, his wrong, or both of our wrongs together, good and the bad. That's what the love is. You know what I'm saying? But again, like it's countered by ego. You have to be able to make the difference. Okay? The segment today is, do you miss them or the feelings? Okay? I'm going to run through some scenarios and tell y'all honestly how it is. Okay? You only miss them at night. Miss the feeling. You only miss them when you see them with someone else. Miss the feeling. Ooh. I'd say miss them because you might miss how you were with them, or you might just miss the able to have them, the access to have them only to yourself. So that could go both 50-50, right? But I'd say miss them. I say miss them. You miss them after a bad day. You actually missed them because you missed how they made you feel after a bad day, how you were able to talk to them and communicate with them. You know what I'm saying? How their advice changed the way you looked at certain things. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say miss them after a bad. So I've missed them after a bad day. I'll say actually miss them. You miss them when you are bored. Miss them because you actually miss them because it's like you miss them when you're bored. There's nothing to do. I can go to you and be myself, and we can talk and we can elaborate and we can have a good time. You actually truly miss that person. You miss them, but would never actually date them again. I give that to miss the feeling because if you miss them, but you would never actually date them again, you probably just miss the feeling of dating someone. I think so. I'm gonna give that to the feeling, not actually missing them. Before you go back, ask yourself, do I miss the person or do I miss the version of me that felt wanted by them? Okay? Stop letting bullshit trick you. Stay honest, stay real. Thank y'all for joining me for another episode. It's been a real long ride for the first season. We're coming up close to the end of the first season. So thank y'all for riding with me. Stay up. Stay blessed. I'll see y'all in the next one. Everything will be down below, all the links and everything else. I'll see y'all in the next one.